Good afternoon, everybody. Chag Sukkot Sameach. Yes, we're almost approaching Sukkot, and I hope that you had a meaningful fast if you fasted yesterday. And for those of you who just observed the weekend, I hope you had a great weekend. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land, where we take a look at those top stories making headlines every Monday to Thursday. So let's take a look at some of those top stories, and we begin with news that the newly appointed ambassador to Palestine, Nayef al-Sudari, speaking to Al Arabiya, has said that the Saudis are working to establish a Palestinian state. Now, al-Sudari is in the process of presenting his credentials to the Palestinian Authority. What is interesting is that this is the first time in 30 years, or at least since the signing of the Oslo Accords, that a Saudi delegation has been to Ramallah, and it comes at a time when the language of normalizing ties between Israel and Saudi Arabia gets stronger. Just last week, addressing Fox News, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed said that Israel and Saudi are growing closer and closer by the day. Last night, very distressing scenes as fighting broke out at Dizengoff Square. This is on Sunday night, rather, as some worshippers tried to put up a mechitza or division between men and women at an open prayer event that was set up around the square. Now, the prospect of putting up a mechitza or division was not allowed by the Tel Aviv municipality and by the High Court in opposition to any kind of gender segregation. Protests and those in favor of gender segregation scuffled and fighting broke out. Prime Minister Netanyahu has blamed left-wing rioters for rioting against Jews. The leader of the opposition, Yair Lapid, has accused Messianic Jews of creating a religious war. Itamar Ben-Gvir, the national security minister, has said that he intends to pray there on Thursday and challenges who he calls any anarchist to try and stop him. He says he will be there with members of his Otzma Yehudit party, and probably the only or the sole voice of reason. President Herzog has weighed in on this, saying that it is extremely, extremely concerning that this happened, especially on Yom Kippur, a solemn day, the Day of Atonement, and in his words, a day of unity. And just on a personal note, to any of Israel's leaders who would be listening, please stop the divisive language. It does not help anybody to use words like anarchists or left-wingers or messianic. This is a country that faces enough issues, enough threats on us. Please stop with the divisive language. Rant over. And of course, last week I was watching with bated breath what I call the annual Super Bowl for journalists. That is the UNGA, the General Assembly, where world leaders gather to address the plenary and the world. Now, what is very, very interesting is that for the first time, a representative from the Saudi mission to the United Nations stayed in the plenary while Prime Minister Netanyahu said his speech. And also for the first time, the Prime Minister's UN speech was broadcast on Saudi television. But let's take a look at some of what was said by Mahmoud Abbas, Prime Minister Netanyahu, and the Saudi representative. Mahmoud Abbas, addressing the plenary, used his opportunity to routinely bash the state of Israel, blaming Israel for, amongst many things, stealing land, being colonialists, Judaizing Jerusalem. He also took aim at the United States and the United Kingdom for the Balfour Declaration. Yes, the Balfour Declaration from 1917. It seems that President Abbas has a bone to pick there. He also admonished the Europeans for standing by and allowing this to happen, and he said that Palestinians would continue with their campaign of what he calls peaceful resistance. And just a reminder that Israel has seen one of the worst years of terror attacks in recent history, with nearly 40 civilians killed as a result of terror attacks. Prime Minister Netanyahu took to the UN stage the next day. In his speech, which was a lot more conciliatory, he spoke about the opportunities that normalizations with the Saudis would bring. He then held up a map of the Middle East and showed or demonstrated how Israel actually forms a corridor between North Africa into the Middle East, and said how this could just change the region and also just bring about peace. He admonished Mahmoud Abbas for his Holocaust denial and for his anti-Semitic comments in recent weeks, saying that the world can no longer be silent when Abbas uses such language. He spoke also about the threat posed by Iran and thanked President Biden for his commitment in not allowing Iran to gain a nuclear weapon. He also thanked the president for his role in pushing forward with plans to normalize ties with the Saudis. And the Saudi representative, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, speaking to the plenary, also, while he neglected to mention any kind of normalization with the state of Israel, did mention that they will work towards a Palestinian state. The Saudis have long taken the position that they believe that the only solution to the conflict between Israel and her neighbors is a Palestinian state. And finally, the IDF have struck targets in the Gaza Strip. This is in response to incendiary balloons that have been sent over the border, setting fire to valuable Israeli land. Now, there has been a lull in sending these types of balloons over for about 2 years, but we saw a resurgence over the weekend, and we also saw riots along the border between Israel and the Gaza Strip. Hamas have encouraged Gazan citizens to gather on the border to riot against Israel. And those are your top stories for today. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook page is at Lottel Site. Our YouTube channel is at The Israel Brief. Almost forgot it there for a second. And we're on X at Lay of the Land 5. You guys know what to do. Subscribe, like, share, invite friends. Hey, I don't need to tell you guys. You guys are the experts. And also, don't forget to tune in tomorrow for your edition of The Israel Brief. Take care.